Back here with Happy Chappy, and this is Trading Places. So, what I found in my life is I could complain about how difficult it was in certain places, and I have done to myself. But I've reevaluated it, and I've always looked for, well, where were the best days? What days were good? What moments were good? And when I found them, and it wasn't easy to find, to believe me, because I was so focused on all else, which seemed to fill up my life and how I felt. But when I was able to find them moments and capture them and lock onto them and fill them back up, fill my heart back up with them by holding on to them, I was able to manage in who I am, in how I feel, how I be. And it learnt me to look at other people and who they are, not who they are and who they tell you whenever you're speaking to them. Telling you about what happened today, what happened yesterday, how their work was, what they had for dinner, whatever. You know, them things didn't really concern me, or I felt was very trivial. So I like to dive in, so to speak, and ask questions about who they are, so I could get a better understanding of where they're coming from. Also learning about what they normally would speak about and why they would speak about things in that way, and how they've got attached to it by how I'd learned from myself, seeing how it was within them in the way they operated. And the more I would find about these people, and this could be anyone, but I do have people in my mind specifically that I do be thinking of. One was a really good friend, I believed. And that was all that was important. I believed. So, their stories that they would tell me felt I felt so much pain for them. And I tried to bring them joy and show them the good that they had today. And I could see it in them. But yet, they had a way of being, which was always going to be down to them to manage. And we're stuck in that way of being. But whenever I used to sit and speak to them, they would tell me stories about their life, about the things that went wrong in their life, the pain, because they seemed that I truly cared. I wanted them to be like, not like me, but be in a place like me, a place of where I found myself, where I could be happy in who I was. And we were speaking one day about trading places. Now, not me and them, but trading places with anyone. As we had been talking about the hard times of life and how they impact us, but yet we were there speaking about it, and we were able to crack a joke or two, which just showed all them hardships were to get us to here. As difficult as they were, and it's as hard on how we make it all about ourselves and, oh, well, my life was worse than theirs. What would they know? They didn't get to do this or have to do this or have to do that. And so how would they know? Because we're operating in that dense place of being just in what we know about ourselves rather than what we know about other people. So when I was in this conversation, I found that myself looking and stepping into their life as if it was me that was going through their life. And I thought about my own life and thought, you know, as hard as I've looked at my own life, I wouldn't change it for anyone else's life. Because I'm happy in who I am. No matter what's happened or how bad anything could be seen, I can always look at people outside of me and see, well, there's always worse moments, worse people have suffered worse in worse ways. And that could be seen vice versa, depending on where you're standing. But there's always someone that was treated or is being treated worse off than you are at that moment in time. And how I seen it was, well, I wouldn't want to change who I am. I'm happy in who I am today. So I asked the friend, I got into the conversation and showed a bit of compassion, how I understood where he was coming from and that I was sorry to see that they had to go through that. And suggested different things to possibly do if they came across that kind of thing again. Things that would take them on another path. So I turned and I asked, yet you sit here in all that you've told me and we've discussed, but would you swap your life for somebody else's? Knowing things I've told you about me and you wouldn't have known, but yet if someone else explained their life, would you be willing to swap your life for them? And they weren't. They were happy in how they were living their life, in how they felt at that moment in time. They were happy in who they were. That they still didn't want to swap their life. Now, I know when we're growing up, we always say, oh, I want to be like this or I want to be like that. That's a deception. You get shown like characters on TV, for example, and they're made to be out there and everybody's cheering for them. So you get the picture of the emotions it's creating. And you want to be there feeling them emotions of others. Excuse me. So we get caught up in that, feeling that that is something that we want in life. But if you truly knew how that person was feeling, what they were going through mentally, physically, how their life has been, you might find that you don't want to change your life, that you're happy in who you are. Sorry. You may want to change your life in who you are and how you're being. But you don't want to change. You'll find that you don't want to change to someone else that you see outside of you, especially when you know their story. Because everyone's story is not bright and sparkly. I don't believe anyone's is, to be honest. I believe we all go through a hard story in some form or another. And on the surface, we show it or we fixed it in some way or another within ourselves. Now, what we always find is we'll be like, oh, but they never went through this, or they never did this. What do we know? We only know what we know. We don't know what that person went through, what they actually went through mentally, physically. We only know what we know when we seen what we seen on the surface from where we were at. But that does not make us knowing what that person went through. And if we did, we might change our mind and how we'd be thinking. So my whole point really is we can't just judge people in what we believe, because that's where we are being dense. In our own view, not understanding and being open to other people's views, and understanding not just their views, but what they have went through in life, what you can learn by opening up that how dense they are, by caring and sharing conversation as simple as that. By asking a person about how they are, how they felt in their moments, and how they're feeling now. Simple questions to be concerned and to find, not just to be concerned for them, but to find that within yourself and the learning and being concerned for yourself in how this could teach you something new and make you stronger in who you are. By learning that maybe I am happy in who I am. Maybe there's a few things I need to change, but I don't want to change who I am. I might want to change in the way I'm being with different things. Maybe I need to change my way of thinking to go in a different direction. But I'm happy in who I am. Because if I was like George or whoever down the road and I was living their story, I don't think I'd want to be living that life. I don't think I'd be happy in that life. Yet I can come back and look at myself and think, well, I might not be happy now, but if I changed this and that and went down this direction, I could be happy. And then I've had happy times before. I know they're hard to remember, but and as I think and find them, be like, yes, there's that moment. And then if you think about that moment and circulate around what was happening and all the different things, you will find that it wasn't just that moment. That there will have been more moments of happiness. No matter how small they were, whether it was a joke and you got a laugh out of it, whether it was some food that you had never tasted before, but you tasted it and it was the most beautifulest taste in that moment in time. Simple little things. And the more and more that you can capture, the more you can capture who you are and what direction you want to go to find more of that in who you are. not being worried about who everyone else is, not wanting to trade places. This is Happy Chappy, and love and peace.